start its work. We were speaking about corruption yesterday and today. We have representatives of Anticorruption Action Center, and they are going to discuss legal aspects about the details on the Prosecutor's General Office proceedings against the NGO Anticorruption Action Center. I will try to speak slowly. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vitaliy Shabunin, and I'm head of the Anticorruption Action Center. The topic of press conference is already known to you, so we are going to tell you about the details of the Prosecutor's General Office proceedings against our NGO. And I want to thank the journalists that are here and those who watch us online for your attention to this case. And we thank to the journalists, and we hope that we will be able to defend not only ourselves, but also many other people. So then Olena Scherban, lawyer of Anticorruption Action Center, will go into details, but I will tell about general things. So what are we accused of? That we took the money that was given by the USA government for the reforms in the General Prosecutor's Office, and that we didn't transfer it to the account of the Prosecutor's Office. They say that we stole the money of American taxpayers that were for the reforms of the Prosecutor's Office. And we should understand that Anti-Corruption Action Center didn't take a cent or any other money from the USA government or any other organization for the reform of the Prosecutor's Office. So there are two pools of money that American government provided for the reforms in the sphere of General Prosecutor's Office. One part is the reform of the Prosecutor's General Office, and then creation of new law enforcement office, a special prosecutor's office. So these are two different pools of money. And General Prosecutor's Office, they try to find this money. And we, as Anti-Corruption Center, we didn't get any money from that pool. And this is from the start. It breaks all the case against us. And we started to spend money from different part of money in order to train the investigators of Anti-Corruption Bureau. And we brought best experts and of the world and inside the country. And part of money went to study each candidate for these law enforcement bodies. We conducted background check and observed all the registers, and during the interview, we knew all the information about the persons. So a lot of people was selected out of this process. And there are no legal grounds to connect us to this case. But I will explain why General Prosecutor's Office got involved in this process, and they got some negative reaction to this. The key goal of the General Prosecutor's Office is to political pressure on our organization. And there are two general sides of this process. The first one, we continuously criticized General Prosecutor and to his deputies, Sevruk and Stalerchuk. For the last half year, this team, they failed in the proceedings against Yanukovych and his proxies. So this is the first line, and this is just revenge by Stalerchuk personally. Detectives and the prosecutors, they are involved in this case, and we addressed Shokin in order to fire Stalerchuk, because Stalerchuk is a procedural manager against Yanukovych, who was connected to Yanukovych. And in a year, think about it, there was just one procedural action. And they interrogated the person who wrote this complaint that the crime was made. So there was only one procedural action, Yuri Ivanishuk, and this is personal responsibility of Stelerchuk, and this is his personal revenge. And the second cause, and maybe this is very important for the clan of this General Prosecutor's Office that is corrupt. Everyone knows that Shokin will be dismissed. The question was only one. And 4 weeks ago, we as an organization, we showed the plan that the presidential administration wants to replace Shokin with Stelerchuk. And we started to explain why we shouldn't allow this. And I told you about Stelerchuk, then about Sevruk. Sevruk was one of the heads of the department that had to oversee the rights, human rights in law enforcement bodies during Maidan. Sevruk is a person by hands of whom Shokin killed the chance to renew Prosecutor's General office, and he made a farce out of it, and top positions in the Prosecutor's office were occupied by zero honest new people, and only 16. This is the reason. And we started to criticize these people, and we said that these persons, they shouldn't be appointed to these positions. And that's why this is the third reason of the pressure from the Prosecutor's General office, and they just want to draw our attention and pressure out. Because this is a matter of survival for this clan. And the General Prosecutor, he represents this clan, and this is needed for their survival. And the last thing I wanted to say, in this situation, I don't see how the Prosecutor's Office of Pshonka is different from Prosecutor's Office of Poroshenko with Shokin, Sevruk, and others. This is the instrument of political pressure on those who are not president proxies. So what is our problem? So we can only speak about General Prosecutor's Office with General Prosecutor's Office and complain about General Prosecutor's Office to General Prosecutor's Office. So I'm Olena Scherban, and I'm the lawyer of Anticorruption Action Center, and I'm going to tell you about legal details and what are the violations from the side of the General Prosecutor's Office of this country. First of all, we should say that the fact of starting criminal proceedings connected with stealing the money of the U.S. government, these proceedings now, they are illegal because decisions of the Pechersk court that is in public review, you can see what the matter is. And this is Article 5, Part 5, Article 91 of the Code of Ukraine. And it is said that people are drawn to responsibility, those people who got illegally money of other people organizations. And there is no description what were these actions, how this was actually done, how this money was got. So, and there is no reference to Ukrainian legislation or international legislation, and no one knows what norms were violated. So there is no objective side of this crime, and it cannot exist a priori. And this is proved by the information from the U.S. Embassy that has already informed that there is no problem with the use of the funds they provided. And they didn't address to the General Prosecutor's Office with a claim to do any investigative actions. Because if there's a problem with the use of the U.S. funds. So it should be then investigated by the law enforcement bodies of the United States. And I also want to state that in the decision of the court, it is stated that the U.S. government provided some funds in the framework of the project to reform criminal justice in Ukraine, and also General Prosecutor's Office didn't get these funds. And if we analyze the law of Ukraine, on technical help and the statement of the ambassador of the United States, it is clearly seen that the prosecutor's office, they shouldn't have got this money, and they understood that it should be understandable that in the framework, this money, they were not for this prosecutor's office. The prosecutor's office is not the site to get this money. And in the framework of this investigation, the General Prosecutor's Office used it in order to put pressure on our organization. And why? Because by this action, as addressing the court, in order to, they want to get temporary access to our banking accounts, to documents, to contracts on opening the accounts, and transfer of funds starting from 2014. We believe that this is not grounded because, firstly, financial aid that was provided, and on the official side of the Ministry of Economy and Center of Anti-Corruption, this information was provided, and our contracts that we concluded. So there is no explanation why they want to get the information of 2014 if we concluded these contracts in 2015. And also, in the decision of the court, there are no references to any evidence in the case. And if General Prosecutor's Office, if they were interested in understanding where money went, so they could address officially to the Embassy of the United States or to the government of the United States to find out and to get the information on this, to whom these money were allocated and for what purposes were they allocated. And also, what are the organizations who are the executors of this? They started investigative actions, and they want to get the access to our documentation. And that's why, and Vitaliy stated it already, that this is the attempt to put pressure on our organization, because during the last year we sent about 30 claims stating that there were some crimes in the General Prosecutor's Office, and they rejected the claims to start the criminal investigations, and we also sent some claims to the General Prosecutor's Office concerning the criminal activity of the representatives of the Prosecutor's General Office, and also against Talerchuk claim, and there were no procedural actions as to Yuria Ivanющenko, and the Anticorruption Action Center was the claimant that sent the claim about the crime made by Ivanющenko, committed by Ivanющenko. And also a complaint by Talerchuk was sent, and on the 14th of March, this investigation started, and this sequence of action shows that they want to put pressure on our organization, and it can do harm to our organization because it influences on our professional reputation, and how it is presented in the media, it can negatively influence on our organization. And we developed a strategy of legal defense, and here we should say that today we are in a situation
that we have no official status in the procedures. We have no right even to appeal this claim because it's not foreseen by the Criminal Code of Ukraine. But we think the employees of the law enforcement authorities criminal. That's why we prepare a declaration. We think these employees are acting according to the orders from the managers, such as Shokin, Terchuk, others. And the criminal is that they abuse their position and putting of the false information into the register. Also, we will ask the prosecutor's office to close this procedure because there is no crime in these acts, and if general prosecutor's office will refuse us to satisfy our claim, we will go to the court, and in the court we will give all necessary documents that the court will require to define the correct decision on this case. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Good afternoon. My name is Maselko. I'm the lawyer of the advocacy group that are investigating the crimes of Maidan, and also I'm representative of Anticorruption Action Center. When we started investigation on Maidan crimes, I had some illusions about the periods of investigation. I thought maximum it could be some circumstances of objective character, but when investigation started, we could see where is the problem, because there was an action against it inside. But what we can see, and what shocks us now, we should be the lawyers of our colleagues, our partners who were with us at Maidan, and now barricades are in the offices of the officials, or to the General Prosecutor's Office or law enforcement authorities. From one side, it's shocking fact, but from other side, it mobilizes us. And I'm here today to tell you that we lawyers who are protecting the victims, 700 people who were injured at Maidan during Maidan times, we support our partners. From Anticorruption Action Center. We officially join this case as lawyers. We take these materials, we will study them, and in the case of further actions, we will follow it as lawyers of the persons who, according to our opinion and according to the facts, during all this time after Maidan started false struggle against corruption, not real one, in the law enforcement authorities. That is the first message. All of us lawyers, we join this process, and we won't let in any way to influence the people who are trying to struggle against corruption. And the second, I became a lawyer, and I started protecting the victims because I participated in many actions during Maidan and in the trip to Meshgiri as well. Do you remember there were 20 cars? They went to Meshgiri and came back. It was a peaceful campaign, but in 3-4 days, all these people became guilty in something. First, they became guilty, then it went to the traffic police department, then to the court, and all of them, based on false documents, based on some wrong facts, were brought into responsibility. Honestly saying, that's exactly what I see now. There is no fact of the crime. There are documents. These documents are doubtful. These documents that became the base for the court decision. All the parties of the process say there are no problems, there are no issues. But there is some huge activities are going on, and the possibility to put the responsibility innocent people, the parallel is very clear. That's why we join this process, and we'll give the possibility to be developed. Second, what else we can see and what evaluation we can give to these actions? we as lawyers in this process, every day there are some proceedings, there are some courts, and we can see how hard this process is moving on. First of all, it is direct sabotage from the side of Mr. Shokin, Mr. Stolarchuk. Stolarchuk himself is guilty that all the cases of Maidan that are in the court now have no legal perspective. For the 2 years, they didn't do anything, or they did everything to be broken in the court. The same happened to this Ivanyushenko case that was mentioned today already. From one side, we can see the absence of the actions, and from other side, we have such a wide range of operative actions about withdrawal of documents, for example. And at the same time, we can see the resources in the Department of Special Investigations that are dealing with all the investigations for more than a year. They create the Department of Kononenko-Granovsky, who is given a complete carte blanche, complete resources, and simultaneously they get the documents they need. On Saturday, Titushka was released. That one who was involved into weapon supply, and from these weapons Maidan people were killed. It was according to the decision of Pechersky court. For 2 months they couldn't do it, and after that simultaneously it was solved. All that tells us about an unanimous actions of law enforcement authorities. And Maidan cases are investigated in the following way. The high management thanks organized criminal group and thanks to the law enforcement bodies and other state bodies made action with the aim to kill protest campaigns. As for me, here the situation is the same, and we wanted to have evaluated from the legal point of view, and we don't want the present authorities to use the same terms. Thank you. Good day, everybody. I'm Kaleniuk Daryna. I'm the Executive Director of Anticorruption Action Center. I want to add to the speeches of my colleagues is that the approval to the public documents is what we see in public access. There are other documents that we can't see in public access, and we have hints that we can be heard, we can be followed, and there are a lot of other nuances that Kononenko-Granovsky department is using to investigate very dangerous for the country criminal band. And we are proud to be the part of this criminal band, together with the Embassy of USA and European Union. What do I want to say? In this public approval, there is not just funds of American people. There are also funds of European Union. They remember the project that was funded by European Union for justice reform, for reform of justice. When we saw this approval, we informed our partners immediately. I mean, the Embassy of US, I mean, representative of European Union, partners in Brussels, and told them that some actions, investigations can be done in their directions, but they told us, but there is Vienna Convention, they won't come to ask us. And we were laughing that time, but it happened to be that Mr. Stolarchuk, the main person in the country responsible for the investigation, has no problems in investigation of the ambassador of USA. This Monday we met with Jeffrey Pyatt, ambassador of USA, and the ambassador told us officially and in private discussions the complete support to our actions. They have no claims to how exactly do we use the grant of the Embassy of USA. This grant it doesn't deal with the reform of Prosecutor's Office, and you can see it on our page on Facebook. It's there from the first day we knew about it. But what else I want to say? 2 years we were working to get positive in visa liberalization, to let others to trust Ukraine, to let Europe and USA to believe that there are actions against corruption. And after all that, in one day, it's all just spoiled. And the very dangerous for our foreign partners is the fact that the prosecutor's office doesn't just punish people they don't like inside the system, like Kasko or Sakarelidze, but that prosecutor's office is actively accumulates resources to attack civil society sector, NGOs that criticize prosecutor's office. And honestly saying, I'm not envy to our president Petro Poroshenko, who on his way to Washington at the moment, or is Washington already. He thinks he will come there as a winner. Hurrah! I could make the demands of Biden. I fired Shokin, but no. Shokin should be fired 3-4 months ago. And that decision it's late already, because outside they're waiting for reform of prosecutor system. They're waiting for Stolarchuk to go from prosecutors. They're waiting for new general prosecutor who will be trusted by the society, who could be independent, who wouldn't be influenced politically from the side of the president, prime minister, or anybody else. And I'm absolutely sure that on the high level of the management of United States, this message will be informed to the president. I'm also sure that our European partners will tell him the same. We are grateful to the ambassador of European Union, who yesterday had an open declaration, and he expressed the doubts and concern regarding situation with Anticorruption Action Center. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for your questions. Channel 1+1, Igor Bondarenko. My question is to Mr. Vitaliy. Could you comment, please, yesterday firings of Shokin and Sakarelidze? And could you give us your thoughts who can replace them? Sakarelidze was fired not by Shokin. He was fired by Poroshenko. We should understand it very clearly. It doesn't matter who Poroshenko wants to see as general prosecutor, but for him it's very important this person to be decent after everything what was done by Shokin. Sakarelidze really was bothering inside the prosecutor's office. A new prosecutor should fire him anyway. To have this person delegitimized by legitimized inside and outside the system. So it was done by Shokin, but my personal assumption is that it was made by Poroshenko. If this new general prosecutor will be reported to Poroshenko, his result will be the same as the result of Yarema and Shokin. I know that the consultancy group of lawyers supports Mr. Gorbatyuk. We as organization, we want a competition. We are not against Mr. Gorbatyuk. He's a great professional. You know him better. You work with him. The lawyers' associations of protectors of Maidan victims want competition. We are sure there are many great prosecutors, lawyers, as other professionals who can come to competition and show themselves to the society. And the general prosecutor will be selected according to its result. It's not prohibited by law. According to the Constitution, there is only one norm. President gives to Parliament his candidate. How he selects this candidate depends on President himself. Nothing bothers President to announce the public competition for this position tomorrow. Any other questions? Good day, Irina Shevchenko, Face News. My question is to Olena about documents. These documents, were they expelled already, and if yes, to what time? These documents are in bank. They're supposed to be taken out from the bank. We think they were taken out, but we have no confirmation because bank employees have no right to give us this information. But I think that the documents were taken out already. The speed of General Prosecutor's actions shows us that everything happens very quickly. The order was made just on 16th of March, and just in 3 days they went to get temporary allowance. But it's a rare case during the investigations of some finance cases, because temporary access is used when there are some risks that the document can disappear or something can happen to them. There were no proofs about it, but the prosecutor's office just wanted to see these documents. That's why the reaction was so quick. And yes, I think that most probably they were taken out. I have one clarification. If we are thinking about stealing of the funds where state authorities might be involved, why state authorities are not worried about it? If you are talking about the stealing of the state funds of Ukraine, if there are proofs to think that the crime is going on, I'm sure the investigation would start. But this case was started by the general prosecutors with no doubts, with no base for it. If you have any comment, I would like to finish. This situation shows us and all the world clearly that Petro Alexievich is transforming into his President Yanukovych. If he doesn't stop, his end will be the same. Why all of us are involved into this situation? Because we can't on this stage, unfortunately, to win the war on the East without support of the Western world and the trust of its leaders. To trust to the presidents whose prosecutor's office is the organization and the critic is not possible in the Western world. That's why Petro Alexievich, please stop. We are not burying just yourself. You are burying the whole country. Thank you. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Our next briefing will be at 11:30. We will think about the awards of Chernobyl disaster liquidators.